Hello, everybody. Time for another installment. This will be part 6 on my series on Elijah. It's called Who is the Troubler in Israel? And it came to pass when Ahab saw Elijah, that Ahab said unto him, Are you he that troubles Israel? And he answered, I have not troubled Israel, but you and your father's house, in that you have forsaken the commandments of the Lord, and you have followed Balaam. Now therefore send and gather to me all Israel unto Mount Carmel, and the prophets of Baal 450, and the prophets of the groves 400, which eat at Jezebel's table. 1 Kings 18:17-19. After a 3.5-year drought, which had brought the once prosperous nation to a poverty-stricken, starving desert, the time had come for a confrontation. Very closely echoing the confrontation between Moses and Pharaoh, the emergence of Elijah from exile, in his black-haired mantle, leather belt, and stern manner, which bespoke the renunciation of the world, must have been a shocking sight. Ahab had been searching for him to arrest him, yet suddenly there he stood. Ahab's question of him did not come out of the blue. Are you he that troubles Israel? It actually harkens to Israel's history shortly after the Exodus and the story of Achan. Israel had suffered an inexplicable defeat shortly after the amazing triumph of Joshua at Jericho. A relatively small amount of troops from a city of Ai had slain and put to flight a larger force from Israel, and this led to agonizing soul-searching throughout the land, from Joshua all the way down to the newest recruit. What went wrong? How could it be that if one would put 1,000 to flight, and 10,000, that we should be slain and humiliated by such a small force? The answer was soon revealed. There was sin in the camp. There was a, quote, troubler, unquote, named Achan. Achan actually means troubler, who had violated the korban that the Lord had called and brought judgment upon the whole nation. He had to be found, arrested, and eliminated. There was a great assembly, and through the use of Urim and Thummim, all of Israel was pared down to one family, that of Achan. As they prepared to stone him to death, Joshua asked him literally, Troubler, why have you troubled us? A troubler came to mean someone who brings level of evil or trouble upon the nation, such as Achan did. But here, centuries later, the memory has been perverted, for Ahab now thinks Elijah is the troubler of Israel, because in his view, he has brought upon the nation the suffering, hunger, disease, and poverty that ensued from the drought announced by Elijah. To Ahab, Elijah is the troubler. He's the Achan that needs to be eliminated. But to Elijah and to the faithful remnant, it was obvious that it would be the widespread infestation of idolatry with all of its accompanying violence, sexual perversion, oppression of the poor, and other forms of immorality on the land that would be the cause of the current troubles. They are the cause which brought upon the nation the judgment which Elijah only announced. So it is today. There's confusion in the West. People in the West have gone so far from God, the God that we all once commonly feared, that they regard those who fear God as a problem, a trouble to society due to their supposed intolerance, hate, bigotry, and ignorance. That's the problem in our troubled society. They don't see the connection between their own sins, between the sexual revolution, the acceptance of Darwinian evolution, the idolatry, and the other changes that have come upon our societies, with the violence, the breakdown of the family, and the mal-educational propaganda as being what really troubles our societies. Rather, they see Christians as the trouble, and soon they will seek to deal with us in their blindness. The question then as now is, who is the real troubler of Israel?